Hello, everybody out there in the Onyx Path universe, and more specifically, all citizens and staff of the Nexus. Important, I don't know if I can pull that off tonight. What do you think, James?
Do it, see what happens.
Okay. Important missive from the Nexus, straight from the desk of Captain Norvik himself. Hi, folks. Welcome back to our next exciting episode of Expanding the Realms. And this, of course, is the show where we will tell you, the faithful viewers, whether you are live here now or later after the fact, all about the exciting realms and worlds and mechanics of the Branch Rider system. Again, our goal is to kind of show you it's not a kid system. It is not just a therapy system. It is a very sleek, narrative-driven, genre-hopping RPG. So I am one of your hosts for this series. I am now known in the Onyx Path Monday Meeting Minute Notes. James, I got my own Marvel bullpen nickname now. I'm Jolly Jack Birkenstock. Rich started it.
Congratulations. Good
Yeah,
job, buddy.
Rich started it, and I'm not going to deny it. I like having a fancy nickname for Marv's bullpen. But I am, of course, one of the members of the design team as a project lead on Branch Riders, as well as executive director of the Bodana Group. Those are my deets. You want to tell them about yourself again for those that might have forgotten in the nosebleeds?
James Kirk. I am also one of the designers on Branch Riders and a member of the Bodana team. Um, Trainer, therapeutic GM, uh, program helper, designer guy. Um,
Program helper designer guy. Put that on a business card. I like
yeah,
Captain on
say it,
deck.
say it with me.
Say it with
Heller.
Heller.
Um,
Nice, nice. That is actually a very apropos reference for tonight, is it not, James?
I mean, I do segues. Yeah.
You do very nice
So
segues.
tonight we're going to be talking about two realms in specific. The party, which we are going to get to later, which you're going to find out is anything but. Um, but then we're going to start talking about the Heights this evening. Um, the Heights is the superhero realm um, in Branch Riders. Um, It is probably my favorite realm and the one that I have gotten to run the least. So
We 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 will be repairing that very shortly, sir. I absolutely promise you.
well, also as a spoiler, or like a bit of foreshadowing, the Heights may or may not be the realm of focus for a later live event of playing.
Oh, are you giving a little hinty towards our actual play?
It might be.
Yeah, for those of you tuning in, you may have seen, my mug doing a lot of running a branch rider specifically. I mean, I will be running at Onyx Pet Virtual Con this year, the actual play on Saturday night. I will also be with Rich Thomas on Sunday for a What's Next with Branch Riders panel to discuss all things that have happened, things that we're working on, things that are coming out, as well as talking about, our upcoming, we're going to be advancing on Origins as, our release party for there, as well as some other surprises that are going to be coming in August. But more word on that, of course, at Onyx Path Virtual. But yeah, James is going to be running The Chase, our actual play adventure that will be taking place after the Expanding the Realms series. And more, I believe we also timed it so it'll be after Onyx Path Virtual Con. So more Branch Riders goodness. Not only are we going to talk about it, we're going to be about it, right? So as James said, the heights, right? So superhero realm. So again, we always give you the kind of a little bit of the design behind the scenes thing here. So the heights all started with, you remember when we were talking about our original little heroes of the game characters, and This was probably, I guess we could argue, the most shoo-in-y of all of our heroes of the game because we were like, yeah, dwarf, resilient, they're pretty hardy, and the sci-fi girl, education, Krista McAuliffe, critical thinking, clever like a fox, and then we are like, here's a superhero in a cape. I guess that's kind of social skills. We're like, superheroes are kind of larger than life characters with their verbose speeches and supervillains just the same, right?
He is a champion of words, I think
Yes.
is how
Oh,
uh,
he was the hero with smiles for miles.
right. Mr.
Mr.
Meeple.
Meeple. Mr. Meeple.
Yeah. So when we were designing the heights, one of the ideas that I had put forth was, what if we made a realm where we got to showcase, and I know I'm saying this on Twitch, we got to showcase just how terrible social media can be. Uh
Yeah, it's true. Sorry,
and then
folks. Science
and then
science
and
has
then
proven it.
and then make it the centerpiece
Yeah.
of kind of how the realm works. So
Yeah.
the story goes that there was, excuse me, there was a supervillain named Exo, evil Iron Man,
Pretty much.
and his greatest nemesis. What's
Nemesis.
what's the plural on that? Nemesis.
We'll be making lots of Mystery Men references for plus I gotta say, I'm sorry, the blame thrower. Best weapon ever.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You have a Herkimer battle jitney? Anyway,
It changes everything.
so his nemesis, the Bull, he had perhaps one time provoked too much, and the Bull kind of wrecked
Yeah.
his suit, was ready to deliver the coup de grace. Yes, I know that's not how it's pronounced.
It is
Um,
tonight.
yeah, so he's ready to finish him off, and this kid is in the crowd, kind of watching this happen, and he's got the Jason the Bull like shirt on, and he's all like decked out in his hero's drip. That's what the kids say today, right?
Hero's trip.
Yeah.
He had
Okay.
that on fleek, son.
Cool. We sound hip.
Hello, young people.
I started to understand why old people say that they're hip. It's actually a connection to like sciatica, and their hip like causing them. I'm sorry.
Stay on target.
So stay on target. Um, the Bull, realizing that this kid is very upset that he's about to smash this villain egregiously,
He pounded his face in.
holds off. Exo sees an opportunity and is like, wow, people behave differently when they're being watched.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could do something with this.
These heroes care about what these
So
people think of them.
the story gets spun that the Bull saved Exo from his malfunctioning suit. Right? Like a very, very convenient spin. Exo retires as a villain and
Yep.
creates the future platform for the Heights that would be known as Cape Book. So Cape Book became the platform where heroes and villains, though it was a tougher sell, sort of registered online
Yep.
and became
DM.
followable personalities.
Yep.
Okay. With that, those personalities got likes and subscribes
And shares.
and shares. and all the things.
Ripped from the headlines, folks.
And as their engagement grew and as their following grew, if that, for those of you out there that have seen The Boys, you know, your Vought Industries, your
Yep.
corporations and things, um, needed people to wear their logo, right? So a superhero can look like from Mystery Men Captain Amazing and have all sorts of
Oh, darn.
things and patches and whatnot on their uniform because they're repping those companies. It became positioning,
Yep.
and companies could make money off of backing heroes that were bankable.
And
Also,
villains could make money as well as heroes.
yes. So everybody's able to make money off of this thing, but it is a rigged game in a lot of ways. There are, of course, the arena, which is where new heroes get tested, and it's sort of like the combine for the NFL. Scouts can go and see, like the new up
Yep.
and comers and who's doing what, and
We're gonna
you know,
go out there see what this boy has going for him.
right, and poach talent and sound
Yep.
like they're from the 1920s the whole time, if that's a thing that you want to do. Um, so the entire world is very socially bent. If your particular hero or villain is able to hero or villain well,
Yep.
they score points. They get uppies. They can
Uppies.
yeah, give them one up. Uh,
I've
and
just never
then
heard it described as uppies, but I kind of dig it.
and the more popular that person is, the more that person gets compensation to be able to continue doing what it is they're doing.
Yeah, they get new gear, they get, different events that they go to kind of go out there and interface with their public. Um,
But what
and
happens to the heroes that don't make it? Maybe the ones that aren't as well liked for whatever reason.
right, or as super.
Does everybody have to be beholden to this idea of social media status? Maybe there's some people out there that don't care. And they're just gonna, they're gonna hero because they want a hero, but maybe it's not sanctioned. Now we're dealing with vigilantism. But
Yep.
it's vigilantism that's
Eh,
established through social acceptance as
Yeah.
opposed to going against the quote unquote law and order dun dun of what's happening
What is
in
wrong
the
with you? I
in the
love it.
city itself. So it becomes a form of social protest to do what they're doing while not having that support of a particular company or a particular product.
Yeah, like mega corporations if you're a Shadowrun fan.
Right. So that's sort of the backdrop and kind of the design of the Heights.
Yeah, and so when we created, because again, just as a reminder here, every realm inside of Branch Riders comes, like we had said, with the starter setting in the core rulebook. And the setting that we designed for the core rulebook is what we call Capedonia. And Capedonia is a city where we basically, for this setting, because again, you could tweak, turn these dials, turn these knobs and switches as much as you want to. In this particular instance, everybody in Capedonia has a superpower. Now, not everyone has super strength or laser eye beams, or, I always make the joke when we talk in panels that, whatever your superhero power is, you can use a flathead screwdriver and it never slips off the groove. You're not exactly beating like world toppling supervillains. You're a hell of an IKEA employee. You can make furniture like the Dickens, but like the Dickens. So we wanted to establish this kind of city, and like James said, with this kind of corporate panache out there. Now, the original intention, of course, was, the backbone is everything everybody does in this realm invariably is going to involve Capebook because, if you're a hero with that IKEA screwdriver power, you want people to know because you'll get more gigs, right? So we felt that it kind of represented initially this kind of what you put out there on social media, you can't take back, right? Which is, an important lesson to learn about social media. And as it kind of grew, we kind of started, adding, and it's kind of perfect, James, that you're my co-host for this particular episode
Oh,
because well, it's no, because you have been a very, I mean, one, you're a huge comic book fan, and you've also run plenty of
course,
superhero genre RPGs over the years. You've played virtually all of them, if you really want to get down to
also true.
it. So, in
A
this,
lot of them, yeah.
yeah, we wanted to create a nice little city where, it's kind of the base, Jason the Bull Peterson, and the Heights also holds a mark of distinction in the rule book, because in the core rule book, not only do you get all these wonder, I sound like, an infamous, not only do you get all these nice eights, realms to go to. Yeah, it's a horrible British accent. You also get a starter adventure, which is called Trouble at the Agency. You actually get to run Jason the Bull Peterson. He features quite heavily as Peterson and Associates is the agency where there be the trouble. Because I mean, we kind of thought superhero wise, like as a realm, it's kind of a cool slam dunk, right? Like we've actually found that most of the created gifts when we run the system and the easiest gifts for us to create when we made the system were like, yeah, okay, wall climbing, Spider-Man gift, whatever. Like Hulk super strength, okay, flight, pick a hero. Like it's real easy to envision any kind of gifts because that's what gifts are. They're superpowers. But we then kind of started to dial in a little bit more to like, well, what goes on in a town like this? Like in Capadonia, everything is kind of business savvy, but when we talk a little bit more about some of the alterations that you can make, we already have talked about, well, is what if you're in a city where there's only legacy heroes, where like it's only like, mom and dads who pass on their powers to their kids, right? Or what if it's only the rich? What if it's only the powerful? What if all of this is Court of Owls style being like orchestrated where nope, you will get the power development contract. You will, because nope, sorry, we have too many firepower people in this town. We don't need you, kid. Thanks. Go away. Now, one of the other cool things, though.
Yeah, and I sort
No, go ahead.
all I was going to say was I sort of hearken the relationship between heroes and villains, very much this idea
Mm.
from the Flash and
Yep.
his rogues gallery. It's the agreement between them was, death would cross a line,
Yep.
and you don't go after family.
Yeah.
And those were kind of the two staples for the relationship between Flash and his rogues, which it was weird to even say that there was a hero that had a working
Yeah. Yep.
relationship with his villains, right? But that was kind of how things ran in Central City. So, Capadonia, because of this social media, you know, grandparent that's always looking in on what's going on,
Social media grandparent. I like that
it's,
actually.
yeah, you have to have some kind of coof
Well,
when you're, when you're dealing with
and it's not
things
even a
going on
code
in
of
the Heights.
honor, really, in the Heights. It's literally yo, dude, one of the rules in this city is we don't kill civilians. Why? Because you're going to lose followers. Like if you kill people, no one's going to father, no one's going to share your posts or your likes. So we got to keep the engine running, and you're a cog in that machine.
Also, that busload of people might have been followers for 5 or 6 other villains or heroes, and now you've just pissed off all of them.
Yeah. Or you rescue somebody, all of a sudden you're able to flip somebody else's follower base into your own follower base. And this is where one of the really cool heightened aspects of it. Remember, we mentioned a little bit earlier that the whole thing with superheroes is that they have these larger than life, they're super. They're more than, right? They're these bigger personalities with bigger agendas. Think about how the blight can manipulate that. And James gave a perfect example earlier, right? What if you weren't a hero that wasn't picked? You got an axe to grind. How many supervillain superhero relationships are based on like jealousy of getting or the anger at getting thwarted or whatever? Now imagine a pissed off person who could fire freaking laser beams out of their eyes, right? The blight has a smorgasbord in the Heights because of all these personalities and people wanting. Because think about some of the other cool things about, just being accepted and being part of a group. Like, there are whole campaigns that could just alone happen within the Heights. And I think that's another one of the beauties of just branch riders in general, right? With the different realms that you could stay in one realm if you wanted to. You absolutely could. So I guess I'll page as we normally do. We're not ready for the questions just yet, but some of the cool things about here, James already talked about like the stage. We talked about some of the notable people, like Peterson and Associates, Adam and Kearns, which is another one of the big business centers. One of my personal favorites were the Winfluencers, which is the social media group, and one of the Ace reporters. Oh my gosh, which one is it here? Um, well, Rosa Sheen, who's like a shoe shine, she has super hearing, so she knows all the goss. But there are just so many. Oh, Regina Splice Warfield, who she can cover the most stories than anybody because she's multiple man. She can split herself into multiple people. She can cover like 8, 10 stories at one time.
Cheating.
Eh, Cheating or winning? I don't know, James. Um, but yeah, so I mean,
Or just really efficient time management skills.
absolutely. Then there's, the Tribunal Sanctum, which is basically like the heroes. They basically, with inside City Hall, all superpowers are nullified. Now, there is some suspicion about whether Leslie Barnes, the mayor of Capedonia, also known by her superhero known to plume polygraph, she can tell if someone's lying or not. She's, that aspect of Wonder Woman and her lasso. There are rumors in Capedonia that her powers are never nullified because she has to gain the upper hand. So, again, we always love talking about how you can tell cartoonish. You could easily tell a Teen Titans ghost story you utilizing this. You could also tell a Teen Titans story. You can tell dark tales within this milieu. It how Frank Miller do you want to get? Is I guess where you really want to talk about. So I don't know. Is there anything we missed about the basic setup of
I don't think
the
so.
hype?
I think that no, I think that covers it pretty nicely. That was a good
Yeah, it's superheroes. It's
right.
not really that complicated of an idea. So now, my friend, we are gonna actually I have to mention one of my favorite Blight appearances One of my favorite pieces of bear art in this chapter is the vulnerable sidekick. This poor lizard mecha suit. I don't know if people can even see the art sufficiently through my camera here, but this poor dude just being sucked into a portal by tentacles. Um, Definitely blight infected. Puts himself into almost constant danger. I'm for whatever reason, I'm thinking, I guess his name was the Urchin from The Tick. It was the one that, for the cartoon show, they made him talk like Rain Man for whatever reason. I don't know. You could run The Tick in the Heights. Very easily you could. One of the greatest superhero parodies of all time. Um, so yeah, that is the Heights, one of our favorites. Um, we will again point you to Trouble at the Agency, which is an excellent story that we've run multiple times in the past. So what do you say, James? We go to the end and do one of our other favorite thingies of just playing around with these questions.
Yeah, man.
All right. And as usual, anyway, yes, spoon. Come, Arthur. I love people who just know what we're talking about. This is great. Um, okay. So the Heights in its own design is basically it's kind of like a neo-futuristic 1960s because in the Heights obviously they have like social media, but we wanted to kind of silver age it. So it was kind of like back in the day. I believe it was a Tuesday. Um, and so one of the things is it's kind of like if you have grandparents or great grandparents, or if you watch the Warren Beatty movie Dick Tracy, you'll know about the whole, two-way video wristwatch things. It's kind of like that kind of technology. One of my favorite photos in the book is the Heights image, which is literally Exo and the bull doing a nice little dramatic pose, and they're toppling buildings and battling in the middle of just the downtown area. And everyone's like, yo, check out my selfie. I can't say with certainty that that's probably what would happen in the real world. I'm fairly certain that is a distinct possibility that people would be trying to get the best possible likes and, shots of their own. But okay. So, James, first question. Does everyone have powers? And if not everyone has powers, how are people without them viewed and treated? What would you do? What would you play around with that? Or how would you play around with that?
How do I treat people that don't have powers?
Yeah, like how are they treated or viewed in that setting that you're creating?
I would say like the lepers they are. No. So
Wow, that was harsh. Oh, oh, okay. Oh, we're just having fun with it.
oh god.
Yeah.
So
My ribs.
there has to be, much like we talked about the Nexus, there has to be people that run restaurants and businesses and that work in office buildings that are owned by, like superhero corporations
Yep,
or even
absolutely.
traffic maintenance people, the police force, even though, I mean, you've got a place full of superheroes and villains, but there still has to be your
Who
friendly
watches
neighbor.
the Watchmen?
Right. There still has to be your friendly neighborhood. Right. So,
Yep.
um, I think that it is interesting to envision a story told through the lens of somebody that follows a hero or villain on Cape Book.
Like a super fan or like an intrepid reporter? Like, what do you mean?
No, I mean like a super, like not even just a super fan, just like somebody that is a fan of the heroes and villains that are on Cape Book and almost
Okay.
telling the story as a series of social media posts
Oh, nice.
that are
Okay.
then like you get the headline, you get the text of the post, but then you play out the scene.
Okay. I
You're
see what
kind
you're
of
saying.
giving the player you're kind of giving the players some director's notes by posting about a thing, and you can
Okay.
even introduce it, like, oh my god, I can't believe he caught a whole rhinoceros. What? And then the first thing you do is you make one of the players roll to catch the rhinoceros.
Interesting. Okay, so
Uh,
it's kind of like a Punisher's War Journal kind of start
but
adventure almost.
lead the story so that it eventually encompasses that follower, that person that's on social media, and they end up in the scene themselves.
Hmm. Okay.
I think that would be a cool way to tell a story.
I
Um, there is a lot of power wielded by the people that don't have powers in this realm.
I hmm. Yeah.
They are, in some ways, they are stronger than the heroes because if your followers don't pan out for you and don't show up,
Yeah.
maybe you don't.
Not so many shares this month, Blaze. What are we
Right,
doing?
like maybe
Yeah.
you don't work out as well that month, and it not only controls a hero's or a villain's fate, but it also can cause characters to pivot in a way that they wouldn't have done otherwise.
Well, it's kind of that yeah, I like that idea. Like I also like the whole thing of like what if there's a whole group of people, right, that were maybe be shafted and they launch like I mean talk about it now with like things like cyberbullying,
Right.
right? Or like cancel culture. Just, to mention we're not going to get into a discussion on that, but
Don't
think
need to.
about that
No.
think about that idea of if you beat me out for this number one hero spot, so I'm gonna ruin you. I'm gonna set up, like imagine the whole Spider-Man, doppelganger thing from the old cartoon that led to the points meme, right? Imagine that is the story where someone's like, yo, this person's dressing up like me. That's not me. I'm not committing these jewel robberies or whatever. Yeah, I like that idea. That is very cool.
Um, I also like the idea of somebody that doesn't have powers, but maybe has some physical gifts. Somebody that's just peak human athletic performance, so to speak.
Well, I mean, you got
Um,
guys like Batman and Iron Man. They have suits and gadgets. They're not super powered, so to speak.
well, so specifically, what I'm thinking of is there was a time in the Daredevil comic run where
Told you,
Matt
folks.
Murdock Matt Murdock had been outed as being Daredevil,
Right?
and he ended up off the streets for a while, but Daredevil was still bringing justice to Hell's Kitchen, and it
Okay.
it was revealed that uh, Danny Rand,
Oh,
Iron
Iron Fist.
Fist,
Yeah.
had actually stepped in as Daredevil.
Oh, so like he had the horns and everything. He was
Yeah,
totally
he
doing the
he
thing.
wore Matt's costume and acted
Hmm.
as Daredevil in Daredevil's stead. Maybe somebody that's a fan of a hero, a specific person, this hero falls out of grace, and this person takes it upon themselves to try to make them look better.
Uh, that's actually an interesting twist. We'll talk about the rails next week, but that actually kind of follows that one storyline that we ran in the rails with, the milk runner, the guy who had like
Yep.
his days of greatness. I mean, and look at it, in this way. I mean, superheroes get old too, right? Like even some of the great Alex Ross comics. I mean, Superman with his Reed Richards little salt and pepper going on there. But no, there's a lot with that idea that you could play off of with all of these just intricate storylines. Because again, branch writers perform a number of various different services. It's usually when stuff gets out of hand, and even the start of the Trouble at the Agency mission, stuff's gotten out of hand. You know, they have a board meeting where like one dude's frozen in a block of ice, and then like, the conference table is very cleanly sawed in half with laser eyes, stuff like that. All right. Um, so while most people are obsessed with Cape Book, James, what important
Sure.
things are being ignored? What shortcuts are people able to take because they can rely on those who have useful powers? So, what might be the impact on just the general citizenry in a storyline like this?
So I think that kind of harkens to the the fear of that we experience in our own lives of AI taking over things that we're doing. If
Ripped
I
from
can
the
get super
headlines yet again.
if I can get superheroes to I'm not going to say like, make a grocery run, but if
Right.
I can get heroes to take
Could
some
you
of
imagine
these.
like Flash doing friggin' Uber Eats or DoorDash or whatever?
I mean, think about the idea that corporations, to try to make themselves look good, one of the things that businesses often do is either donate or do community outreach, right?
Okay.
So
I'm digging it.
these heroes are tagged for specific public facing, not just meet and greets and things of that nature. But
Okay.
think about the idea of that, like, claim a block where a business pays for the cleaning and the maintenance of just one block within a town, right? Then they get to put
Right.
their name on a sign that says, this block cleaned and
Right. Like
maintained
this
by.
highway owned by or
Right.
yeah, okay. I could see
So
that.
what if as a community outreach, especially for some heroes that might be struggling in the public face,
Mm.
what if you got that guy with the laser eyes to fix an electric grid by being able to weld and splice wiring?
Dude, what if it was like, yeah, this whole project of, and again, maybe I'm thinking a little too evil in the current world that we live in, but it's kind of the, hey man, I'm sorry, you just didn't have the moxie for it right now, but we'll tell you what, for you to kind of work, you need more experience. You need to kind of work your way up through the minors, kid. So why don't we have you just doing a bunch of these like it's all for publicity. It's kind of almost like when in the Captain America, the first Avenger, when they had him doing the whole war bonds things on stage. He's just like, dude, I'm capable of so much more. Like,
Yeah.
I love that idea of that extension that they have like a, and again, all of this could be ripped out of the headlines and played however you want. Like, that's the public works project
Well,
of,
and
you know what
also,
I mean?
like, uh Smith and Tremblay, or Smith and Sons, uh um salvage, right?
Oh, yeah.
If companies are doing the manual labor, it pushes out smaller businesses that might have had bids on contracts to do that kind of work. Spider-Man Homecoming.
Dude, I
This
do
is
where you're
exactly
going, the
how
Michael
Adrian
Keaton thing.
this is
Yeah.
exactly how Adrian Toomes becomes the Vulture.
Yeah, absolutely. Heroes are doing
So
his contracted work. I like that, James.
the really cool thing about being in a city is that you're in one area and you can breathe a lot of life into it, and you can, you can play around in that enclosed sandbox, and that's very cool. The downside of being just in one city is that with that limited space comes limited resources. And if you're really breathing life into an area, you have to figure out how to allocate those resources.
Yeah, well, and
Who
also
gets what?
right. Yeah, it's power dynamic, which again, imbalance of power is where a lot of great stories come from. Nice.
And this all ties back to social structure because these companies are doing this to increase and use their social capital. It's in the name of that social appearance and that social structure that these lower rung businesses get pushed down or pushed around in that kind of storyline.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I like that idea of again, these are all like super villain superhero origin stories really, but those are where good adventures start. And those are good adventures come from. Nice. Um I don't know if this is even a fair question to ask you with all of the information that you have glommed in your brain, but we actually say, because a lot of people ask the question, well, where does it, want everything explained, and we're like, no, it's a role playing game, make it up. But where do people believe their superpowers come from? And we give some various reasons here, and these could all again as we're talking through this, we want you to always be thinking of the lens as we do of what makes a good adventure hook? What's a good story arc? Not just a story to tell, but a story for your players to be the protagonists in this realm. So some of the suggestions that we gave were genetic mutations that are inherited. There's your legacies. We talk about exposure to radiation from an alien artifact. Um, Force of will of those who are born gifted, spirits of the ancestors who empower people to greatness. So what do you think would be some cool story arcs for this?
So I always like going the route, and this is just a personal preference. I like the idea of mutation
Okay,
because genetic mutation is both impartial because you're either born with it or you're not.
maybe it's Maybelline. Sorry,
Right. Um so you either have it and you get powers or you don't.
right.
Um but it also opens the door for brilliant geneticist insert name here who
Oh,
who is then able to somehow crack the code and manipulate it, and maybe those genetic cocktails are not as stable or as reliable
which that okay?
as if
That's a
as
right
if you
slice of
had
evil.
gotten those powers when you were born with them. Maybe it makes the wielder more unstable. Maybe it makes the powers more unstable. Um, Maybe it creates powers that never existed in the first place. Does
Okay,
physically alter the people that are tested on. Um,
I like
this
it.
is essentially why Mr. Sinister exists.
Okay,
So I always really liked the idea of genetic mutation. Um, because I feel like with genetic mutation, I don't necessarily need to explain why some people don't have powers.
okay.
Like it is a very clean explanation, like he doesn't have powers because he wasn't born with them, as opposed to this person doesn't have powers because his ancestors don't like him.
Right.
You
Well,
know? Eh,
and maybe this is also the kind of idea. I mean, again, talking about a story arc, and this could be like more of a long range campaign kind of a deal. But maybe the fact of, let's loop a lot of these ideas together. So we had a city where only a certain amount of people or certain people had powers, and these superpowered people, like they're gathering all the dough, man. Like they're getting all the bread because of all these powers. So people are like, well, I want to compete. I want to try to gain an edge. So oh, I got a super serum right here. Oh, yeah, sure. It'll give you super strength and all of that. Yeah. Yeah, I like that, dude.
well, so, and I'm also thinking, from that social engine, there could be a large movement of people, and maybe they form some kind of a society or some kind of a group pact, almost like a union, right? They call themselves
Ooh.
like the normalities.
Okay.
Where there
Tell me more.
it's a large group of people that do not have powers. We're not born with them, and it feels like they're
Okay.
second class citizens, right? So it's almost this peasantry kind of rising up against the established power block, right?
Okay.
But they make a massive movement through Cape Book to patronize certain products and certain companies that hold um, specific values. That
That.
value
Hmm.
that value the common person.
Okay.
Um, making we're uh, presenting normal as acceptable, as opposed to exceptional is acceptable.
So maybe there's a whole movement within Capadonia of forget following the heroes, follow the regulars, right? Like one of
Right.
those kind of deals, or they just start a whole anti-movement.
And it would be very easy for
Wow.
like a jealousy fueled blight,
Oh,
or
way too
uh
easy.
a
Way
blight
too easy.
a blight that's fueled by avarice,
Okay.
one that just wants to take and take and take, and
Yeah.
infects a group of people, not just one person, but could infect a group of people that feel like their lives have been absconded with,
Yeah.
by these
I
people that were born better.
yep. Or just born tip or what? I didn't win the genetic lottery. So now all of a sudden I don't get, yeah. Oh man,
I
that's
mean, there was such an outcry of danger from mutants because they were different, they were feared, and Bolivar Trask creates the Sentinels, and we go through that whole
ooh.
rigmarole, right? But it's different here because we're dealing with the idea of social acceptance and social power and strength of word and opinion, and how public opinion can change or sway a certain thing. So it becomes less about we're afraid of people with powers, because they're not. They live in a city with people that have powers.
Right.
What they're afraid of is losing what they have, which I think is something that can be very relatable for players.
Well, and it brings back when we talk about branch rider missions. I know a lot of folks have talked to me about the whole idea of what exactly is a branch rider's job? Is the branch rider's job to maintain the status quo and the equilibrium? Because that curtain's a mighty tricky thing philosophically. You know what I mean? Are we protecting, the power balance so there's no power vacuum? Which leads to an instant fill of that power vacuum. So yeah, we can we can do a lot of large mass style storytelling.
Yep.
I likes. All right, so only one or two. And if there are any questions from those out there, please let us know. Um, oh, here we go. Uh, do heroes and villains share a prohibition on killing or property damage? What are their limits, and what happens when someone goes too far?
So I think the ones that go too far, that's why incarceration exists.
Okay.
I feel like there's a certain level of, again, because you are in a city and because you are in one area, if heroes are too good at their jobs, you run into the Captain Amazing, I have nobody left to fight, get
Eh,
Death Man is dead. You know?
Nice.
Like Casanova Frankenstein is in an insane asylum. This other villain that you fought is in jail.
Right.
Like you've put away all of your greatest
Oh,
nemesis. You don't have
yeah.
anybody to fight.
You have nobody to go
The
against.
villains and the
All right.
heroes and the villains and the heroes, I think, understand this all too well.
Eh,
Um, because if neither of them has their foil to go up against, they also aren't very interesting.
Yeah, you got well that's one of the weird questions about that balance that we kind of inherently talk about as being understood, but I don't know, is it really that universally understood that
Well,
we're all going to
and
abide by
here's
this rule?
right, and here's how I see incarceration working.
Okay.
Um, I always envision incarceration as the basement levels and the under levels of some corporation or even one of the law firms
This is weird.
where heroes and villains that
Right.
go too far are actually sent for reprogramming.
Wow. All
And
right.
it's a behavioral training
You need to follow
where
the status quo, bro.
right, where they're basically
Okay.
taught like, no, this is how you follow the rules. These are the rules that are established, and you can follow them or you can get in the chamber.
Wow. Yeah, that's okay. I like that.
And
It's kind of
you
dark.
know, they either get hypnotically or otherwise reprogrammed.
These are some interesting parallels for after the break.
And the reason that I say like a corporation or a law firm is that maybe a bunch of the big wigs actually have these things in their basements. And when somebody goes too far, there's a secret bid that takes place as to who gets that
Ooh.
convict.
Well, I mean, it's the whole idea of you remember him, folks. He didn't follow by the rules, but thanks to the programming efforts of, criminal Relogistics
No,
Incorporated.
that's just the thing. That's
No,
just the thing. That's how you make new heroes and villains appear on the scene. It's
by
the same thing as
reprogramming the old ones.
it's the same thing as professional wrestling, Jack. It's
Oh,
rebranding.
they're rebranding. Oh, dude, that's vicious.
It's the same hero or villain, but they're now put out as a new package that's more beneficial for that particular corporation.
Well, or that particular agenda.
It fits their
Okay.
branding
Oh,
to
mm.
do it this way.
Oh, that's evil.
Is it better to find some wet behind the ears rookie that's got the powers but maybe doesn't have the cred, or is
Right.
it better to behaviorally modify this
Yeah,
person that
Mm,
has been on the streets, but maybe it's gotten to them over the years, or they've made some bad choices. We don't
right,
necessarily want to throw away this resource, but we have to change the way this resource works.
right. You're not exactly fitting the mold of what we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
but we're gonna help you.
And
Yeah,
maybe where the story comes in, where the branch riders have to get involved, is because there is a blight that is causing some of the old memories that have been modified or removed from these particular
Ooh.
people to resurface, causing manic episodes.
Oh, and there's a confusion inside the brain
Correct.
of these folks. Ooh, I like that,
Which
dude.
which also simultaneously makes them more susceptible to blight influence.
Yes. Ooh, that fracture. It's kind of like they tore the curtain of their mind.
Yeah, yeah,
Ooh, I like that. That's a pretty nice fresh slice of evil, I would say. All
yep,
right.
I think so.
Excellent. Um, well, we are just about time for our 9 o'clock mid break, but please, folks, do
Indeed.
not go away. That is the Heights, the superhero realm aplenty with Kate Book to rule them all. But please stick around because after we take a 10-minute break, we're going to come back after the break and tell you about one of my favorite settings, which is the very ironically named The Party. So please, folks, stick around. Don't go anywhere. And hey, just remember, if you do not have yet your copy of Branch Riders, you can go to branchriders.com, which will give you all the links to get to Drive Through RPG, where you can find the core rule book, the condition cards decks, our exposure trackers, as well as soon to be released, the Facilitator's Guide, if you would happen to be a teacher or a therapist or community leader who wants to use Branch Riders for intention. But I think those are the ads that we have for right now. So yeah, we'll go ahead and take a little bit of break. We'll be back in 10, so don't go changing. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for sticking around with us or coming back to us after the break. Hey, we're not going to beg. We're not going to be anything but thankful. So we are continuing our episode of Expanding the Realms. This is episode 6, so there's only one more to go after this. We just finished talking about the Heights, one of our favorite realms, especially James's favorite realm, or one of. And now we're going to
Mm,
get to talk about one of my favorite realms. So, first, again, just as a reminder, if you haven't watched the entire series or you missed an episode or two, the names of all these 8 realms that we talk about, these are nicknames that were given by the branch riders, kind of like how beat cops talk about nicknames of like the neighborhoods they patrol or the districts that they go to, right? So the party is definitely named. I don't even know if ironically is the right word to use, right, James? It was kind of named very tongue in cheek, very opposite what the point is. So the party, because we are talking always about our different genres and such, the party came out of one of our newer, our second slate of heroes of the game. And this was based off of one of the heroes whose name was Meta. So, metta, Metta, if you're not familiar with the term, it's actually a Buddhist term that means loving kindness. So, it's kind of having love and compassion and kindness. It was kind of our way to touch on empathy. So, when we started coming up with these worlds, we are like, well, Meta in the original draw, we kind of made Meta, they look like a wizard. So he's like, okay, so wizards. So we want some kind of magic, but we're even trying to think about, well, what might be a compelling setting? So originally we were like, well, it could be like a magic enchanted. And we're like, no, we have the crags already. We have fantasy covered. So what could be kind of compelling? And of course, as a Gen X child, as a child of the 70s and 80s, what did I have to draw upon? dystopian police state future. Drafted from things like Logan's Run, Demolition Man. I'm trying to think of some other like Blake Seven, like just all these things where I guess modern. And this isn't even modern anymore, James. I'm like a modern thing like V for Vendetta. That's not
Yeah,
modern anymore, is it?
no, I always I my original mental picture of the party was always this mix of like Blade Runner,
Okay.
um, but the lower city in Blade Runner,
Oh wow,
right?
you saw it a lot darker.
Like the slummy bits. However,
Oh, there's a however.
yeah, the places where, and obviously we'll get to them, but the places where control had taken over,
Yep, yep.
I more hearkened to, and this is just, one of the things that because of what I grew up with,
Uh-huh.
I thought about DD Prime, from Dune, the Harkonnen homeworld.
How did I know you were gonna bring Dune into it?
But
I actually didn't. Go ahead.
it was like it's this industrial futuristic place, but I really liked Denis Villeneuve's vision of it, where it was this like bleached white, and everything looked like very antiseptic, but there were always these
Okay.
spires, these spires that were coming up, and it's not full on Harkonnen because it doesn't have, Vladimir Harkonnen's gigantic head plastered on something. Um,
Right.
but uh, these very old white spires. My dog agrees. Um, and maybe lesser known for sci-fi fans, but definitely for fans, and there's enough of them, of the lore from Magic the Gathering.
Uh-oh.
Um, kind of what Elish Norn's Phyrexian towers and Phyrexian buildings would look like. These very like sharp angular features on these big white spiry towers, and what we eventually, I think, changed into the metronome.
Yeah, the Metrodomes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a police state here, and in the world, so we thought, okay, it originally had to do with, empathy, perspective taking, feelings, whoa, 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 that kind of deal. So what we kind of decided upon in this eventually was, all right, biggest thing that we wanted to kind of sing is let's take a logical conclusion to banning emotion. Emotion is outlawed. Like you cannot show emotion. So there's also, I mean, every source of media has this kind of like, feelings are bad, feelings are the negative, whatever. It's classic sci-fi trope. But in our world, that all this takes place, and the main city that you could start your adventure in is called the City of Temperance, and it is the main city of an organization called Control. So I always have to look this up because I can never memorize control offhand. I have to always look at it. Here we go. So, in the world of the party, there were huge wars, and the council, or one person specifically, Mina Kunwar, decided that emotion was at the heart of the problem, that uncontrolled emotion is what led to all of this warfare and all of this strife. So they decided to ban it. And they outlawed emotion in the cities, and they basically programmed the city to be on an even keel. So control stands for the Committee for Non-Reactive Transformation, Restraint, and Logic. Through control, we found a better way. And the whole idea was you work, you do your business. Yes, feelings are normal, but uncontrolled, unrestrained emotion is not to be tolerated.
And
And yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I think that's an important distinction. It's
Very
not
much.
it's not necessarily that there is no emotion. It is that even, with control agents, right? Like the people that facilitate control,
Yeah.
they might experience emotion.
Uh-huh.
They have just been trained not to have a reaction to it.
Kind of like Vulcans.
Yeah, it's experiencing sad, but not emoting or feeling or going through the sad. It is just like kind of stating like, yes, this feeling could be akin to sadness, and kind of moving on. So it's not that they're not Cybermen, right?
Right,
Like we haven't
exactly.
removed emotion from the equation. It's just that they have this supernatural control over the emotion that they do
Yeah.
experience.
And they do seem robotic because I mean, I will say one thing again. Truth be told, behind the scene, James and I run uh we are two of the main facilitators for the Badana group, and we run branch riders in at least what, five, maybe six of our eight groups weekly.
Yeah.
And we run for 10-year-olds all the way up through adults, right? And I don't know what it is. So as much as last or a couple little while ago when you and I were both on and we talked about the chain and the crags and how the Tenebrous Angel is like, people pee themselves when they see this art. They're like, oh my God, I don't want to run into those. Okay, that means you're going to run into one of those. But when we talk about the party, it we always joke about how Branch Riders as a system, because of the exposure tracker and because of the mechanic of like, hey, murder hobo, don't come around here. Don't bring that ruckus. You want no
Yep.
ruckus. The party, just the mere mention of a realm where any explosive or over the top emotional display will get you arrested and reprogrammed. We'll talk about the open valley technique in a moment. Our groups are terrified of missions in the party
Well,
because
so one of
they
them
can't
in
go
particular
nuts.
is now.
Uh,
I I think we've given one of our groups PTSD when it comes to the party.
That
They
was a
were
hell of an adventure, though.
Yeah, they were instructed that they were going to the party because they had problems doing missions with stealth
Yeah,
and with a level of control over themselves. So they were dispatched to the party
on the job training.
because it's necessary to operate in the party.
Yeah, learn by doing.
And it took them about 20 minutes to very very thoroughly crap the bed um in that realm. There were a couple of people that were caught in the middle of a demonstration from some of the protesting heart wizards that were
Uh-huh.
on scene. Two of them tried to break into a control facility and ended up getting caught, and one
Uh-huh.
of them got arrested, one of them got out.
Yep.
Eventually another person got arrested.
Yeah.
There
Then
was
one player used five gifts in a row to very
Yeah,
chaotically humorous effect.
yeah, yeah. There
So
was a lot going on.
yeah,
Um,
but again, it's not that no emotion, because again, not showing any emotion is very antithetical. Now, here's the interesting thing, right? So you have control, this authoritarian police state that has stated there will be no out of control emotion. You must control yourself. Now, on the same hand, because again, looking at the roots of this system, we had to take that therapeutic stuff and turn it into great story meat. So we said, well, who would be against this? So we kind of came up with basically the concept of a heart wizard. Now, they were so named because they decorated themselves after battle. Like first, they used emotion as magic. So they used we even at one time I think we even called it like pathomancy, but we
Mhm.
decided to kind of strike that because it's in other products and whatever. But the idea is that there are the heartbroken who are just absolutely rage-filled anger machines. They're just like, just do something like a demonstration, blow stuff up, like, just punch a dude, right?
You got
You
to
need to
stand up,
feel.
man.
Yeah, if you're mad, express it. Show them how angry you are so that they know how pissed you are about what's going on.
Damn the man, save the empire.
Absolutely. Now, on the other hand, there are also the heart sick, which are the ones that they're kind of like our emo. I guess you could say that they're like, well, no, you got to like express your sadness and your grief, and you got to let that, motivate change in you. Don't be mad about it. Use that sadness to drive you forward. So we have one group that expresses it only through the negative, one that is completely chaotic, and another that is completely restrained in logic. Oddly enough, if you would combine all three of these things of true just baseline emotive response of, yeah, I'm feeling angry today, doesn't mean I'm going to blow something up, but I need to acknowledge, yeah, I'm pretty pissed about that. Maybe I should do something. Okay? Reasonable. This is the playground that all adventures or most adventures of the party take part in. Now, within the city, we have some wonderful faceless automatons that are controllers, where they are basically they're not human faces. They are like masks that look like faces without emotion because they figured that would be more calming, even though it's more unsettling. Then there are monitors, and of course, we already mentioned the metrodomes, which are these constructs across the city, and their whole job is to keep an emotional tone. So it's kind of like a hum that resonates throughout the city, and that is the emotional vibration that you must attune yourself to avoid getting in trouble. So of course people are going to get in trouble. And James, how frightening to our party was discovering the open valley technique. So, so the open valley actually, true story. So the open valley came from actually experience I had where I discovered that I am MRI claustrophobic. I had to get an MRI for something going on in my brain, and they were like, "Well, we can get you to an open MRI," and I went, "Oh, is that better?" And they went, "Oh yeah, totally. It's not like being in the tube." And I went, "Okay." So they said, "Well, here's the open MRI," and it was basically a gigantic disc. Like I was the meat in an MRI machine sandwich, and I was like, "Yeah, this doesn't really look too comfortable for me." And they went, "No, no, just look over at the wall." And I went, "Why?" And they went, "We painted a field of lilies." And I went, "What?" And in my brain, they're like, "Just look at the open valley. Everything will be fine. You'll be okay." And I'm like, "No, I won't." So fast forward, the open valley is basically control's answer to someone who is aberrant, where what they do is they kind of Clockwork Orange style strap you in and they blast you with emotionally provocative scene. Kind of think of if you've ever seen the movie The Fifth Element. If you haven't, my God, you have to. But the scene where she is looking at the computer program and she gets to war and she's just watching all these fast images of like war and death and destruction and everything. And her eyes are just like locked wide open and tears are just like streaming down her face. This is what open valley technique is they blast the body with so much emotion that the mind just goes numb because it's too much for it to handle. And by doing this, they literally are creating an emotional tabula rasa. They create a blank slate by which they can reprogram you to be calm because we don't want to get overstimulated like that. Like it's literally the emotional equivalent of, "Oh, you want to smoke, Johnny? Here's 3 cartons. Let's smoke until you get sick." Great plan, 70s dads. It didn't stop us. Moving on. So that is kind of how horrifying this realm can be with the reality. Now, we of course do you see the rabbits? Nice. I see four lights. Um we actually threw him another kind of a ripple. Actually, James, it's kind of perfect with tonight's dual theme, because one of the complications that we gave our adventurers in our in one of our groups was so a branch rider had been captured, and this branch rider was actually a reformed supervillain from the Heights, and he figured, well, I'm captured, I'm kind of screwed, I don't really think anybody's gonna rescue me, so he was like, "Hey, Control, do you want to really gain an edge on your people? I have a way that you can watch everyone all the time, and they won't even complain about it. They'll be excited about it. It's called Cape Book." And when the players found this out, they're like, "What?" And we were like, "Oh, yeah, cross realm pollination, baby. It happens all the time in these styles of adventures." But it, it just, it was such an amazing, like, rock and roll finale where, like, the heartbroken were, like, assaulting them with, like, weapons made of, like, drum kits on, like, VTOL risers, and they're firing sound waves. And it, the party can be a very, very exciting place to have an adventure. And we have a ton of different mission starters. One of our least favorites is the sweep, which is basically a time within this area. It's a weekly patrol that basically it's research on the metrodomes. So they basically go out and they try to rattle the population in a way to like fine tune the systems. So they're just on purpose trying to find people to lock up. So fun. Uh, have we mentioned before that you could tell very, very, very serious, mature storylines in Branch Riders? This is not a kids' game, folks, unless that's how you want to run it.
We
Uh,
might have said that once or twice, yeah.
Once or twice. So yeah, the party. I particularly love the party because the Heart Wizards. What I kind of envision them is whether it's heartbroken or heart sick, they wear their heart on their sleeve. So by this, all of their tribes and tribulations, they're all just tattooed to high hell. Like they have tattoos of like all their missions or conquests, what passionate they have about them. Like this also branded my favorite gift that I created for Branch Riders, which was Living Ink, that I think I might have talked about before. It's just such a cool punk rock aesthetic to this to this to this realm. It's literally one of my favorites. Absolutely hands down throughout the book. Like I said, maybe I've watched too many, like you said, Damn the Man, like Rock and Roll High School, Surf Nazis Must Die, and all these, like, Renegade, Rainbow, Liberty Spikes, going up over San Juan Hill, whatever. It's a very fun place, especially when you're trying to introduce this like renegade army of heartbroken. And all I'm doing is describing what it looked like in Shredder's hideout in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. But the kids are like, "Man, that's so cool." And I'm like, "Yes, it is totally cool that your parents didn't show you this movie so James and I could seem cool describing Shredder's hideout if you saw the original old movie."
Yeah.
Anything you wanted to add on to this before we went before we made with the questions?
No, 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 no. You're good to move to the questions. It's fine.
So yeah, party, absolutely friggin' love it. And again, for memory's sake, if you do get your Branch Riders core rulebook, packed full, chock full of a lot of great stuff to motivate your story. It's a literally box of Lego with a spine on it. Oh yeah, loving Sam Rockwell. The back of the book, not only do we give you a setting for each of these realms, with people, places, things that happen, 8 story starters per realm. We also, in the back of the book, give you a set of 10 questions for each realm that kind of help you. Maybe you're like, you know what, temperance sounds cool. What if I'm in a city where like control doesn't have a foothold yet? Can I make that? And as I jokingly say so many times to people, I don't care what you do. You've already bought the book. It's your table. Do what you want. We
Yeah, this
want
is your
you
world
to
now.
we want you to create more settings. This is why we have the Discord. Please join the Discord server, the Onyx Path Discord. Go under the partner section, branch riders. Please, if you've created your own settings, we want to know about them. We want to know. We're hoping at some point, once the system gains a little bit more traction, gets a little bit more popular out there, we might want community-based content. We might want to see what kind of blights y'all are going to come up with out there. There are a lot of devious minds. Our backers alone showed us this. So in the back of the book, we have these questions, and James and I and Doug and I have been playing around with these questions just to show you how you can, flip some of these toggles and switches and stuff. So, James, here we go. Here we go. Um, what does what do the government forces look like in your setting? What flavor of dystopia do the police represent? We gave you 3 options. I hope this does not trigger anyone. Uh, one, do you know why I pulled you over? Traffic cam back there caught a prohibited micro expression. Care to explain that? We must take you for re-education so that your thoughts can be purified and made worthy of the fatherland. Again, just an example. Or what troubles you, comrade? I didn't see you at the last mandatory commission meeting. That's, of course, Jack borrowing a little from his love of paranoia. Yeah, speaking of which, kind of like Alpha Complex, right? Yes, we're game designers. We are inspired by the games that drove our play.
Yeah.
Uh, but what about you, James? Like, if what's your favorite way to display control?
So,
Control. You must learn control.
uh, control agents in games that I run, I the base troopers, the controller agents, I represent them as more competent stormtroopers. I think is probably the best way that I can describe it. Um, they're like if
Competent.
the if the Empire had these stormtroopers, the rebellion was in trouble, like real trouble.
Okay.
Um, they're not full of banter. Um, they don't have the power or the authority that like a street judge
I am the
would
law.
have. But I do kind of think of Judge Dredd
Eh, Wait,
when
Keith Urban or Stallone?
um I mean Urban's Judge Dredd I think was much closer,
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
it depends on the flavor of the adventure, right? Like if I'm going a little more campy with it, you could go Stallone Dredd.
Yeah.
Um, but if I want to keep it more straight laced, then it's Urban's Dredd.
Okay.
Um, but the like your basic cops, not the street judges, but just like the basic cops,
You're like bad
right?
boys. Sorry.
And they're not well. That that's a good reference. They're not. They don't have banter. We're not going to tell buddy cop stories about these guys. Like they show up in their uniforms with their weaponry and they take people in, and that's it. They're a well-oiled machine down to the most basic cog within said machine.
I like it.
So my controller agents are a very business oriented police force.
Okay. Yeah, I play them as like 1 degree shy of Cybermen, where they're just, very what are you doing out this late, citizen? But
Hmm.
again, I borrow a lot from when I used to run, Paranoia, the computer voice, which we'll get to next week when we talk about the terminal, as well as the Rails. All right, very cool, very cool. Um, Punk rock is just, and this is a perfect question for you, my dude, who has like 87 different playlists on your Spotify or YouTube music. So punk rock is just one example, and definitely my example. I'm a huge, MC5 Black Flag, take it back to the OG. But
Hmm.
punk rock is just one example. What is the band subversive music that energizes the local protest movement in your in your vision of the party?
Um,
Please say Joni Mitchell. No, I'm just kidding.
Down Jet and the Blackhearts. Um,
Really, that would not be bad in an 80s
it wouldn't.
flavored
Yeah, it
party.
wouldn't be.
Yeah.
No. Public Enemy and Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, so Prophets of Rage.
Prophets of Rage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like those styles of bands. Um, Bionic Jive.
Wow, that's one I haven't heard yet.
Uh, I'll have to play it for you
Yeah, I
sometime.
was just to say yet.
Um, Corn. Um,
All right.
I mean like old Corn.
Right, like first album Corn.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
First album, and Life is Peachy, Follow the Leader, that kind of
Gotcha.
stuff.
Nice.
I also think uh AC/DC, Ozzy Osbourne.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
All right. So still that kind of rebellious spirit,
Yeah, I think if I
It could
could
also be like
go.
electronica, like Ministry. I could see Ministry definitely working in this setting.
Yeah, so that was funny because I was just about to go that uh 9 Inch Nails route uh
Uh,
as part of it. Um yeah, there's all kinds of music one could use. You could also go that uh you know garbage Flyleaf, um Paramore.
okay.
uh those would all be solid choices.
What nearby ruin or battlefield or mass grave is a reminder of the power the wizards once wielded in the world? Like what kind of elephant graveyard would you have in your settings? Like again, if it's paranoia, you've gotten to the outside, you've left Alpha Complex, and you're out in the outskirts, you know?
Right. So I've actually already used this in a group when we were in the party. Um the characters running away from control agents ended up finding a an old, almost akin to like House of Representatives, like a parliament building, that once housed members from different sects of the Heart Wizards, where they very clearly came to actually talk about things, as opposed to everybody just doing their own thing.
Kind of reminds me of that old Star Trek TOS episode where it's like an alien planet where they're like reading from the Constitution, like the legit Constitution. I'm like, wow, okay. Someone loved the bicentennial coming up. Ah, all right.
Yeah. Um, could even be a standing memorial that's not anything as not anything as grandiose as like the Vietnam War memorial,
Right.
but some kind of a memorial that would just have, slab with names and maybe something that they represented behind them.
Okay. See, I,
Like
I
a one word descriptor.
I would go with kind of one of my perennial childhood favorites, and I'm very happy is on Tubi now. I would go Thunder the Barbarian with it. If you are not aware, of course, of Thunder the Barbarian, it's again, it's another one of the reasons why I love Pugmire so much. Thanks Eddie for hiding a post-apocalyptic setting behind a dog veneer fantasy. Um, but just the idea that there maybe the world in the party was so destroyed by all the worlds and everything that and the wars that had happened that they literally just had to build over top of the old world. So there's this underground network that is literally the world we live in today. I always loved that kind of thing with Thundar when they would like go into the subways and go into like old neighborhoods and whatever. And I did a lot. We did a lot of that when we were doing our Pugmire adventures way back upon a time. But I always liked that idea of like almost like finding it was the before times. Like there were times when yes, we didn't argue about dumb stuff all the time. Like we listened to each other. We were able to critically hear people and argue about things, right? Again, rip from the headlines, folks. But that's
I
always
don't
one of
believe
the
you.
that's one of the cool things that I kind of like about that as well, because I also envision like because again, I mean, I think we've already kind of let some of the secret out. Yes, we are working on another volume for Branch Riders. We don't have a whole lot of details now. You got to tune into the panel at Onyx Path Virtual Con coming up weekend of June 5th through the 7th. Please do not forget about that. Put it on your calendars. Find out all of the great paths coming forth from the Onyx Path.
Yes, we too can tease.
Yes, I drop ads. How you doing? Um, but no, that whole idea of coming up with new locations is fun. It's a lot of fun
Mhm.
because you get to play around with these tropes. You get to look at all of these different influences and things that you've encountered media wise, and you get to kind of inject a little bit of that flair. And again, James and I had the benefit of being, guys who are, significantly in some cases older than the kids we're running group for. So, we're pulling stuff from our childhood, and they're like, "You're a wizard," and they're like, "No, we're thieves. We're just borrowing and reskinning stuff that was awesome when we were kids." But yeah, with this type of setting, I mean, there's a lot that you can play around with here. Not only what does control look like, but what lengths, and this is an interesting question for you, James. What do you think are the greatest lengths a citizen of the party has gone to avoid detection from control? Like knowing that they're looking for emotion, how do they keep themselves straight? And maybe that'll involve like, how does control know when you're in your house? If you're or whatever.
What lengths?
Yeah, like how far would you go to hide the emotion that you know they will throw you away for?
I'm trying to think of what I would call these people.
Oh, these people, so it's like a class of people or a certain power?
Well, uh, a certain sect of folks that have a very particular set of skills.
So
Um,
it's a town of Liam Neeson's.
yeah.
Okay.
So this um
That sounds very interesting.
I'm kind of hearkening I'm channeling my inner Shadowrun here.
Okay.
Um
I like this idea so far.
like a street doc
Ooh.
going to a person chop shop, right? But not for cybernetics,
Okay.
not for implants.
Yeah, the tech isn't quite that high here.
A highly developed surgical process that rewires the limbic system
Whoa. Okay.
within the brain. And it doesn't like it prevents certain chemicals being released in the brain
Ooh.
that cause response to emotion. It doesn't shut off the emotion, but it shuts off the chemical receptors.
Okay, so it's like a more active tech of meds,
Right.
basically. Okay.
Yeah.
I like the
But
sci-fi
it's
twist on it.
yeah, it's considered like, very underground medicine. Um it's not it's not accepted by control
Yeah, I would think that they
because
would think it's like weakness. You're not
exactly
controlling, yeah, you're not
control
controlling yourself.
you're not exactly you're not
Oh, dude, that's
exhibiting
wicked.
control over your emotions. You're shutting down the response, and it actually makes you weaker because you experience emotion, but you don't have to control it. It's a shortcut.
You're literally giving away control.
Mm-hmm.
That's deep, dude.
But once the actual procedure is done, there's very little that control can do outside of testing the chemical release inside the brain.
Wow.
There's really nothing they can do to track whether or not you've gone through this procedure.
So it's undetectable at first.
Yeah, depending on scarring and things of that nature, because it's very like surgical, laser precision brain surgery. There's only like maybe two or three people that would be able to do it.
Okay.
Um,
So it's very specialized kind of work.
yeah,
Okay. Wow, I dig that. That's a really cool concept. Because I was thinking like disguise suits are like, masks. They have those masks now where you put the mask on, it completely like obliterates what your face looks like.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking something like that, but that like a good branch rider adventure could be that these they're untested and they're harming people. So, maybe the thrust of the adventure is to teach people better, beat them at their own game.
Yeah.
I'm thinking a very Captain Kirk kind of a speech towards the end of a computer killer episode. Why do you want to give up your control? Nice. All right. Well, I don't know. I think that almost might just about take us out for the remainder of the night. I guess I'll give a couple of updates. So, uh, upcoming next week, please join us for the final episode in the Expanding the Realms series, where Doug will be joining me to finish off this set, but that is only because this man, Mr. Captain James Kirk, is going to be taking the helm. That's a lot of metaphor. Uh, running the event. Did you want to give anybody any kind of sneak preview or anything about the chase?
So we're going to be doing an adventure that is actually going to span all of the realms. It is exactly what it sounds like. The players are going to be tasked, uh, unbeknownst to them at the beginning, um, with chasing an individual that has some goals that maybe us as people would understand. Maybe
Right.
not necessarily agree with the way that they're being executed, but that's sometimes what makes a really good character. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to be following through a series of adventures that are going to take place in all 8 of the realms. And as you know, every good adventure, it's not just main story, main story, main story. We get into some of these realms, and there might be distractions. There might be monster of the week type things that we're going to have to deal with along the way.
Absolutely.
Things that will slow the players down. Um,
So, open call. If anybody out there watching this broadcast or any of the subsequent ones on YouTube are interested, and we are going to send channels out through our Facebook. We're also going to send out some announcements through the Discord server for anybody who may be interested in joining in this cavalcade of adventure. Please feel free to sign up. We're looking for, I think, 4 adventurers to go through the story. So if you're interested, message us through the Discord server at Onyx Paths Discord, or you can email us, the Bodana Group at gmail.com, or just go to our website, www.thebodonagroup.org. Additionally, as we say many, 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 many times, if you have not yet secured your copy of the core rulebook, or if you need sets of condition cards, or if you need a copy of the exposure tracker, please go to www.branchriders.com. All the links that you need, as well as some system information, will be provided there so you can order via print on demand or PDF your copies of all the materials that you need. Backers of Branch Riders, which we penultimately thank you over and over again. You have precious days left to get any errata or feedback on the facilitator's guide draft that you were sent about a week ago. And then once we tie up all the loose ends, wrap the bows, all that good stuff, we're going to release that on Drive Through RPG. So expect some huge announcements there. We're also in the process of working on a Branch Riders GM screen. And if you are a podcaster or streamer and you would like to run your own Branch Riders play sessions, please reach out to us. We have overlays available that you can purchase from us. We'll have more information in the future about how to do that. And then I think only 2 other pieces of news. One, again, we're going to be appearing in Onyx Path Virtual Con. We'll have an actual play Saturday night. We'll also have a panel on Sunday, me and Rich Thomas. And if you are going to be in Columbus, Ohio, the week of June 17th through the 21st, we will be at Origins Game Fair in Columbus. We will be at booth 1502. We will have Branch Riders, all the materials that you need. We will also have our series of Branch Riders themed minis that you can get nowhere else but through us at our booth. So please come by, join us, find out more about the system. If you've already purchased it, members of the design team, at least 3 of us, right, will be there to sign and autograph your copy if that's the kind of thing that you're into. And of course, a bunch of other good stuff that is all fundraising. Our big reveal on that is we're going to be selling some dice punishment and dice reward systems because Bodana's going to be running a little study, a little fake scientific study of ours. Do dice perform better when they are punished or when they are rewarded or therapized? But
there is nothing fake about this science, and I, for one, cannot wait to see the results of this very serious and very measurable study.
That's all we got for you this week, folks. Please feel free, tune in next week. Same branch time, same branch channel. We'll see you next Tuesday at 8 for the final episode of Expanding the Realms. Thank you. Be well. Do good things.